Have you ever felt like you could sense something about someone without them saying a single word? Have you ever read a glance, understood the pain behind a smile, or felt that someone was falling apart inside even when they said, "I'm fine"? If so, you're not imagining things. You carry a gift, a rare one. This kind of sensitivity doesn't come from books or studies. It comes from the soul, and only the chosen carry it. They have a kind of vision that isn't taught. It's given, like an inner radar that picks up on what others completely miss. While most people pay attention only to words, the chosen observe the body, the gestures, the subtle expressions. They notice signals. They interpret behavior with the heart, not with judgment. Maybe you've had this gift your whole life but never really stopped to understand what it means. Maybe you grew up hearing that you were too sensitive, too intense, or that you cared about the wrong things. But the truth is, you see what others ignore, because you were set apart for this. Jesus did the same. He wasn't fooled by appearances. He saw the heart, the invisible, the things the body was silently screaming. And today, the chosen carry that same kind of sensitivity. They can tell when a word carries weight, when a gesture holds pain, when a smile is just a mask. And more than seeing, they understand. In this video, you'll discover why only a few people carry this ability to read character, and how body language and facial expressions reveal far more than words ever could. This isn't just about body language. This is spiritual discernment. And if something inside you already lit up just hearing this, don't go anywhere. Also, take a moment to follow this channel. Not for trends, not for the algorithm, but because here, you'll feel seen. Here, people who feel too much finally understand why. Some people can hear what was never spoken. They sense what's hidden in the air. They don't need long explanations or emotional confessions. Just a gesture, a look, a quick glance away, and they understand. It's not magic, it's perception. It's a gift. For the chosen, the body is always speaking, and it speaks louder than the mouth. The way someone crosses their arms, the way they breathe, how they move their hands, all of it reveals pieces of the soul. While most people see only the surface, the chosen sense what's underneath. A blank stare might be more than distraction. It could be a sign of abandonment. A clenched jaw that looks like simple tension might actually be holding back words swallowed years ago. The chosen notice these things, not because they want to judge, but because they feel. The face never lies completely. Neither does the body. Even when someone tries to cover everything with polished words, the body reveals the truth. It lets the hidden sadness slip out. It betrays the fear. And those with spiritual eyes can see it clearly. The Bible speaks of this. In Proverbs it says, "A joyful heart makes the face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit." That means what's inside of us overflows, even when we try to hide it. And the chosen read that overflow with gentleness. They don't interpret with coldness. They don't think they're better for noticing. They don't point fingers. They feel with empathy. They connect with another's pain without crossing their boundaries. They don't use the gift to manipulate. They use it to comfort. Many people think that reading someone's behavior is just a skill, like something you learn in a course, as if there's a formula. But the chosen know that's not how it works. This perception comes from the soul. It's spiritual. It's something you feel, not something you force. Sometimes, all it takes is a hug that lasts a second longer, a weak handshake, a glance that avoids eye contact, a voice that trembles for just a moment. All of it speaks. All of it tells a story. And the chosen listen to those stories with their eyes. This kind of sensitivity is rare. That's why many who carry this gift often feel out of place, like they feel too much. But what seems like a burden is actually a mission. To perceive the soul of another is a divine gift, a silent calling. Only those who have felt this truly understand. Only those who carry this deep gaze know how hard it is to pretend they didn't see. How difficult it is to continue a normal conversation after feeling a pain no one confessed. And maybe that's why the chosen sometimes pull away. They need silence. They need to protect themselves, because seeing too much is exhausting. Feeling what others feel is heavy, but even in their tiredness they keep seeing, because they can't unsee. They were born with this gift, and it's not a gift to show off. It's a gift to serve, to love deeply, to see others with compassion, to understand that behind every gesture, there's a story. And every story matters. This gaze that sees through the masks isn't something you learn. It's something you carry. And those who carry it do so because they were called. What allows someone to truly see another deeply isn't a natural-born talent. It's pain. It's history. It's the scar no one saw, but that taught more than any book ever could. The chosen feel others deeply because they've known the bottom of the well. They know what it's like to cry in silence. They know what it means to wear a smile just to survive the day. They know the feeling of not being heard, not being understood. That's why, when someone near them begins to quietly fall apart, they notice. Because they've been there too. The discernment of the chosen doesn't come from theory. It comes from life's practice. They've been wounded, broken, rejected. And instead of becoming hardened, they learned how to perceive. Pain refined them. It gave them an inner radar that only those who've been through the storm carry. Many people look at someone with this gaze and think it's just sensitivity. But it's more than that. It's emotional memory. It's a kind of sensitivity carved by struggle. They remember their own pain when they see someone else suffering, and that creates a unique connection. Joseph in the Bible is an example of this. He was betrayed, sold, forgotten. Still, he remained faithful. And later, God used him to interpret dreams, not because he had a degree, but because he had lived. The chosen today are like Joseph. They interpret because they've lived what others can barely name. Pain shaped their gaze. It shaped their silence. It shaped their empathy. It shaped their care. On the outside, they may seem ordinary, but on the inside, they carry a wisdom no school can teach. They know when to speak, and even more, they know when to simply listen. Sometimes they say nothing, but their eyes say everything. Sometimes they're quiet in a corner, yet they're reading everything happening around them. They observe the body, the energy, the tone of voice, and they begin piecing together things others can't even see. They don't need to force anything. They don't pretend. They don't act like sages. They just feel. They just perceive. They live with an emotional radar always on. And most of the time, they can't even explain how they know. They just know. This isn't arrogance. It's sensitivity refined by survival. It's the kind of gift no one chooses, but that shows up in life's hardest days. The chosen don't carry a light gift, but they carry a gift that heals. And healing begins when someone finally feels seen, when they finally realize they don't have to explain everything. They don't have to prove anything, because someone noticed their pain, even when it was dressed in normalcy. The discernment of the chosen doesn't come from technique. It comes from falls, from sleepless nights, from whispered prayers, from those seasons when everything collapsed, but faith remained. That's why what they carry can't be copied. This kind of character reading isn't found on the surface. It lives in the heart. And the heart of the chosen carries marks, marks that have become a compass, that now serve to guide, to care, to love better. To see another with depth is a gift, but to resist judging what you see, that is maturity. The chosen aren't special because they see more. They're special because they know what to do with what they see. Not everything is what it seems. Someone who speaks loudly isn't always confident. Someone who's always smiling might have been holding back tears for years. The chosen know this. They're not fooled by appearances. With time, they've learned that behavior is just the surface of something much deeper. Seeing with the heart is a rare ability. The chosen don't focus only on what's being done. They feel the reason behind it. They notice what's hidden between the lines, in the silences, in the small gestures. But the most beautiful part of this gift isn't what they see. It's how they see. Those who see with the heart don't judge. They feel, they understand, they welcome. The chosen don't put labels on people. They don't look at someone and say, they're weak, they're fake, they're wrong. They look and think, there's pain there. There's a story, there's a reason. Jesus gave us this example. When he saw Zacchaeus up in the tree, many called him a thief, but Jesus called him a son of Abraham. He looked beyond the mistake. He saw what was underneath. The chosen carry that same kind of vision, a gaze full of grace. This isn't always easy. Sometimes someone's reaction hurts. Sometimes their behavior confuses. But even then, the chosen try to understand. They go deeper, because they know that everyone is fighting battles invisible to the eyes. This judgment-free perception is what makes this gift so special. To see someone from the inside, without condemning them, requires sensitivity. It takes empathy. And most of all, it takes love. Not shallow love, but a love that sees value even in the flaws. The chosen don't point fingers. They extend hands. They don't invade someone's space with advice or criticism. They remain present, aware, even when the other person isn't ready to speak. And that presence, that patience, heals. It transforms. There's a quiet beauty in someone who simply sees you, without trying to change you, without making you smaller. Just sees, accepts, embraces. The chosen do that, often without even realizing it. They carry a comforting presence, even without words. Seeing with the heart isn't about being right. It's about being available. It's about saying with a look, I see you. And it's okay. Few people know how to do that. But those who are called feel this pull all the time. That's the role of the chosen. Not to label, not to expose, but to perceive, understand, and love. Because to truly see someone is a gift, and using that vision to build, not destroy, is what brings us closer to what God hopes we become. Not everyone who perceives needs to speak. Sometimes silence is more powerful than any advice. The chosen understand this. They feel, they see, they understand, but they also know when to stay quiet. Because not every pain wants to be explained. Not every wound is ready to be touched. Being near in silence is also a form of love. The chosen carry that kind of presence, one that embraces without invading. They sense when a soul is tired, when a heart is fragile. And still, they don't force openings. They don't demand words. They simply remain. There are moments when all someone needs is a look that says, I'm here. Not solutions, not well-meaning phrases, just presence, just someone who understands what hasn't been spoken. The chosen offer this naturally, almost without noticing. Jesus, when faced with the woman caught in adultery, didn't speak right away. He bent down and wrote on the ground. That wasn't an empty gesture. It was wisdom. It was respect for the space of pain. The chosen carry that same kind of care. They know not every truth needs to be said all at once. They observe in silence. They gather signals with sensitivity, but they never use that to pressure. They never turn perception into control. They know their gift isn't to expose, it's to protect. It's not meant to press on wounds, but to respect boundaries. Many confuse sensitivity with intrusion, but the chosen walk in the opposite direction. They know that sensing someone doesn't give permission to cross their limits. They know how to wait. They let time do its sacred work. This silent reading is one of the most beautiful marks of this gift, because it doesn't impose. It simply is. And those who receive this kind of presence feel peace. They feel seen, but not judged, understood, but not invaded. There are days when words disappear, pains that can't be explained. In those moments, the quiet company of someone who just stays is incredibly valuable. The chosen offer this, a safe space, a silence that embraces, a presence that comforts without needing grand gestures. Perceiving is a gift, but perceiving and respecting, that's an even greater one. It requires wisdom. It requires maturity. The chosen are guided by more than instinct. They're guided by compassion, by a heart trained by love. Not everyone understands this kind of sensitivity, but those who have been healed by a respectful silence, they never forget. And that's what the chosen do. They touch the soul of another without ever using their hands. Those who have the gift of deeply perceiving others must first have had the courage to perceive themselves. The chosen can only see beyond what is visible because, at some point, they dove deep within. And that dive was not always gentle. Looking inward can be frightening. Sometimes what we find inside hurts. Old wounds, memories that still sting, feelings left unresolved. But that's exactly where true discernment begins. When someone has the courage to face their own soul, they learn to respect the soul of others. The chosen don't read people with arrogance. They don't look from above. Quite the opposite. They know how hard it is to remain whole on the inside. They know what it feels like to be misunderstood, even by themselves. So, when they look at someone broken, they don't see weakness. They see a mirror. The Bible shows this path in Psalm 139, when David prays, "Search me, O God, and know my heart." He doesn't ask to know others. He asks to be revealed to himself. That's where true sensitivity begins, in self-awareness. Those who don't have the courage to truly see themselves often end up judging others harshly. But those who have faced their own depths learn to see others with compassion. The chosen understand this. They've walked that path. They've been refined from the inside out. The gift of perceiving the invisible in others is born from the truth faced within. Those who live behind masks can't see beyond the masks of others. Those who run from their own pain can't recognize pain disguised in others. The chosen don't run, they face it. They've learned that being sensitive is not a weakness. It's strength. Because it takes courage to live with an open heart in a world that often stays on the surface. They're not afraid of depth. They were called to it. And the more they look within, the clearer everything becomes on the outside. Other people's gestures begin to carry more meaning. Words gain more weight. Silences become louder. Discernment grows when the soul becomes fertile ground. That's why the chosen live in a constant process. They never stop observing themselves, never stop learning from their own fears, mistakes, and emotions. They know that the cleaner they become on the inside, the clearer their vision of the world becomes. Self-awareness is a spiritual tool, not vanity. It prepares the heart to serve better. And the chosen don't seek to control. They seek to serve. They don't aim to prove they know. They want to offer real care. When a chosen one speaks little, it's usually because they are listening deeply. They are paying attention to everything, including themselves. They have a double awareness of the other and of their own soul. And that creates a rare presence, one that embraces without pressure. Spiritual reading doesn't begin with others. It begins at home. It begins in the quiet room, in honest prayers, in the days when the soul weeps in silence. The chosen were shaped in those hidden places, and that's why they can see what no one else sees. If you feel like you perceive the world differently, maybe you've been through this process. And if you're still walking it, keep going. This is the path where the healing gaze is born, because no one can heal others without first allowing God to heal their own heart. Not every defensive gesture is a sign of weakness. Often, what someone uses to protect themselves is exactly where their greatest gift lives. The chosen know this. They've learned to see strength where the world only sees pain. The body holds scars, some visible, some not. A quiet voice may hide a brilliant mind. A suspicious look might belong to someone who's been betrayed too many times. The chosen understand that every reaction carries a story. And almost always, behind that story, there's a gift waiting to bloom. Moses stuttered. He told God he wasn't good with words. Yet he was the one chosen to speak to kings, to free a nation, to become a prophetic voice. What seemed like a limitation was actually preparation. The chosen know that God uses the unlikely. That's why their gaze is different. They don't see problems in people. They see layers. They see potential disguised as insecurity. They see talents trapped by trauma. And when they do, they don't point fingers. They encourage. They care. They believe, even before the person believes in themselves. What the world calls weakness is often just an unrecognized gift. Extreme sensitivity may be the soil where artists, counselors, and spiritual leaders grow. Shyness might hide a healing kind of listening. Anxiety may be the sign of a fast and creative mind. The chosen have a gaze trained by grace. They don't just look at behavior. They ask, what has this person been through? What is this gesture protecting? What pain is trying not to be felt? And right there, in the middle of the pain, they find a calling. Many gifts are born in places where it once hurt. Much authority comes from where there used to be shame. The chosen know that wounds don't cancel the mission. They're part of it. They don't disqualify. They prepare. But this is only possible when you learn to see deeply. When you look with your heart. The chosen are not impressed by appearances. They know the most precious things are often hidden where no one is looking. This ability to see hidden gifts changes lives. Sometimes, all it takes is a single word of encouragement from someone who sees with truth. Someone who says, I see something good in you, even if you don't see it yet. The chosen do this all the time, sometimes without even realizing it. And that changes everything. Perceiving others deeply is not about control. It's about service. The chosen don't read others to feel superior. They read to love better. The gift they carry wasn't given to point out flaws, but to build bridges. Jesus didn't see sinners as lost causes. He saw opportunities. Every person was a chance for healing, for new beginnings, for transformation. The chosen follow this same path. They don't see problems. They see a harvest ready to happen. It's because you were called to do so. You're not carrying a burden. You're carrying a gift that welcomes, understands, and transforms. God trusts the ones He chooses. He set you apart, not to judge, but to love with greater depth. And the more you understand that calling, the clearer everything becomes. You see with your eyes, but you feel with your spirit. This gift is not noise. It's subtlety. It's presence. It's a bridge between hearts. If you felt truth in the words you heard here, follow this channel. But don't follow like someone who just consumes content. Follow like someone who has found a place to belong. Because here, you are not a stranger. Here, you are seen. You are one of the chosen. And this vision you carry was given to heal.